Hey everyone, Nick Engvall here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about some of the people that make the sneaker history community and this podcast possible. It's more important than ever to think about who you give your money to when you're buying clothing to go with your kicks. Our friends at Guilty Goods started their brand with a goal of giving back, especially to the communities that make sneaker culture possible. With every purchase from Guilty Goods, at least 10% of the proceeds are donated to organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the Movement for Black Lives, and many more. You can save 30% on your order by using the code HISTORY at guiltygoods.us. Again, that's history at guiltygoods.us for 30% off, and you can feel good about your purchase knowing you're supporting a meaningful cause. Sneakers are all about presentation, and if you're like me, displaying your kicks at home or in the office is just as important as when they're on your feet. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights, drop-side cases to showcase the entire side of the shoe, not just the heel or the toe, the whole shoe. They've also got display cases for trading card collectors and hat collectors. To me, it's the perfect way to display your collection. You can save at least 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. If you're a Patreon supporter or a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days. He's currently the defending champion in our community trivia nights competition. Kicks with V hot sauce has been a huge hit with the community. You can save 10% on your order by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. Now, you're probably here because you like sneakers, and if you join the Discord, you know our community is about so much more than that. Whether it's the marathon-like community calls, trivia night debates, the in-person meetups, or just sharing our favorite experiences, we found that although we have such different backgrounds, we all have some unexpected shared passions. Not only does the entire community look out for each other when it comes to releases, we're like a support group for life in general. You can join the Discord community for free by heading to the show notes of this episode. After you're done listening to this episode, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Now let's get into today's episode.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move! LeBron James with no regard for human life. 12 seconds. Bryant for the win.
Iverson against Gill, the crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What up, what up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name's Nick Engvall, with my guys Mike and Robbie to talk some kicks, to talk some business tonight. So what's going on, fellas?
Shoot, not too much, man. Just kind of waiting out the rain around here.
Some would say we're about that business.
Duh.
Some would.
Not agreed, but I'm good. ready to clock in, so to speak, for talking business.
Yeah, you and me both, man. So before we get into that, what are you guys rocking lately? What are you copping?
Rocking. What did I have on? I had my OG Instapump Furies on today, and I think the past couple of days actually. I've been wearing those and copping right now. I guess I just got my eyes on the Space Hippies right now. See if that works out.
I actually wore my V1 Vapor Maxes today. So the first, I think it was like the debut, not the Air Max ID colorway, but like one of the first like releases. Mm-hmm. And that shoe is not very comfortable, man. I mean, like I wear it every couple months because I like the way it looks. But for as great as an idea it is to have, no TPU or foam between your airbag and your foot, when you step wrong, you can really feel that airbag like directly into the ball of your foot.
It's a cleat, man.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely it has its cons, but I like the way it looks, so I keep wearing it. And when it comes to COPPIN, not really buying anything, but Nick and I were just talking about how good those Animal Instinct 2.0s looked.
Y'all like those?
I don't like them for $250. If I can find
maybe $59.99, I'll like them, but I don't know. They just look weird to me. I'm not a big animal skin fur person.
If I could find them 40% off or free, like, yeah, that'd be cool.
Well,
but
free, yeah. I'm rocking for free.
So I my theory is that I like them because I keep seeing good pictures of them, and then if I were to get them, I might wear them once, and then I'd be like, I'm never wearing those again. You know, like it's one of those shoes where I know that I shouldn't buy them. So, but they have grown on me a whole lot. But I was rocking the last couple of days the Vans TNT Advanced Prototype. It's like the Tony Trujillo signature shoe. They had a collab with the Giants a couple years ago, and it's kind of my go-to shoe if I'm gonna skate around the neighborhood. So nice. I actually was trying to get our little pup on the skateboard. Didn't go as planned, but she did get like pushed around a little bit before she started just hopping off and biting the wheels. So gonna keep trying though. But
not every dog is ready for that Instagram fame of riding a skateboard.
Yeah. And as far as COPPIN, honestly, like I forgot that they came out, but I need to find some of those Air Max 90s. I forget what shade of orange they are, but they're just kind of like the standard like gray and black, but with orange accents.
The home and away ones with the jewel swoosh on it.
No, just the regular ones. They look like the Volt ones or any of the pink ones, the purple ones. You know, they've pretty much run through all those colors. And I saw like on Twitter earlier that there was people saying that the smaller sizes were left. So hopefully I can find a pair of those before I don't know, whenever. I'm not in a rush. But it's one of those things where like I feel like they're hyped up right now, and people won't care about them 6 months from now, so they'll be on eBay for like $75. I hope.
Yeah, it's kind of how it goes.
So before we get into the rest of the episode, I wanted to read a review from iTunes. We got a review from King Sunset. He says, "Great show, one of my favorite podcasts. I really enjoy the storytelling and the history of sneakers they discuss. I also like the personal storytelling the three hosts have with the sneakers. I recommend not listening while driving because these guys will have you Google searching LeBron 8 V2 Summit Lake or another shoe you don't remember off the top of your head. Just kidding. I've never done that before."
I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, King Sunset, I can kind of relate because every time I get on here with these guys, I find myself Googling and adding save searches to my eBay. I'm like, okay, well, these are shoes that I need to get. So now my wish list went, before we started doing the podcast, it's been a little over a year now. I feel like my wish list was at like, a modest 50 shoes. Now I'm probably at like 150.
Oh, easy. Yeah, dude, mine does the same thing. I look, I'm like, oh my God. And half of them, I'm like, I'm never going to buy this. Like there's so many Jordan 15s after we talked about that one day and a bunch of 14s. I'm like, come on, what am I doing here?
Yep.
I gotta then throw my little story in. Drew Whitcomb posted a picture of the Air Jordan 2011 he bought in 2011, and I went and I had like 4 pairs of 2011s in my watching folder or watching section of eBay, and I was like, man, I'm gonna mess around and do something stupid and buy a pair of worn Air Jordan 2011s. And double before we segue, I didn't get to bring this up last time, but thank you to Shoeseum for giving me this little crystal 2K4 Hirachi little paperweight thing. He randomly has called me. He's like, hey, come out front. I was going to give you this. So you remember that I like the 2K4. It's my favorite Nike shoe ever. Got this cool little trinket I'm playing with as I talk right now. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think he's got his last like auction with Sotheby's. Has it ended yet? I didn't see the close on it, but
it's still going on. It is a pair of the original, like one of the first, if not the first, track spike.
Yeah,
Bill Bowerman.
Pretty wild shoe.
It was John May's shoe that was made specifically for him by Bill Bowerman by hand. His own 2 hands built this shoe. So it's like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know this, but it was before even Blue Ribbon Sports. So this is a couple steps before Nike, but just a true piece of sneaker history that if we all combined our all-time worths, I don't think we could afford it. So
yeah, for real.
Congratulations to whoever wins that shoe.
Yeah, and we'll put a link to the auction in the description so you can check it out, because it's definitely something worth taking a look at, because it's just wild to see the origins of and how far things have come with sneakers and track spikes and all that stuff. So
I mean, I haven't even seen the tip of his iceberg, and just like a couple times I've been in that studio, you're just like, oh, that's like a literal 1974 like version 1 issue 1 Nike. Well, okay, that's really crazy. You keep like looking around, like that's crazy. That's you sound like a broken record that's skipping.
Yeah. Yep. So there was some interesting news today that it's funny. We had wanted to talk about this a little bit earlier, but it kind of actually worked out for the best, because we couldn't all hop on and talk about it. But we wanted to talk about, athletes and their business endeavors, because specifically in like the sneaker world, but we'll probably ebb and flow in and out of that with like the various deals that they've had. But LeBron and Mav Carter announced today that they have SpringHill they had already started it, but they basically made it official and had the whole Bloomberg article and all that. And basically it's just it's just LeBron like doing his thing. But before we get too deep into that whole story, we kind of want to go back and look at some of the other players throughout the years that have had success, off the field, off the court, because inevitably everything becomes political during this time for some reason. But obviously, like, athletes are human, just like all of us, right? So some of them are going to find business success, and some of them are passionate about that. So this kind of started around the conversation of like, I can't remember who it is that always says like, shut up and dribble or whatever, but it's like, fuck the bullshit. Like, let's just look at the real success of these people, because some of these athletes are so incredibly successful. And, it's just the nature of the internet, right? Where the people that are out there talking shit are usually the people that aren't doing anything, because the people that are doing things don't have time to be talking shit and trolling people on the internet. They're out doing and making their lives what they want their lives to be. So I'm going to toss it to Robbie, because he's got a handful of pretty good ones to kick us off with.
Yeah, it's Laura Ingraham who said that, the white she-devil.
Facts.
Just kidding. There's a couple of those. But, I mean, from a Fox standpoint, definitely not my favorite person to listen to. But before we get fully into it, and we'll probably talk about it more later, but just the things that Mav Carter and LeBron have been able to do together have just been so powerful. It just shows, like, if you support each other and help bring your friends up, everybody can eat, everybody can succeed. And I never liked how Phil Jackson called like LeBron his posse or something, like try to have like a negative connotation about a whole bunch of self-made millionaires. And I thought that was really ignorant. But some other players, I mean, generations before LeBron, laid the groundwork for him to do what he does. And I'm sure he looks up to a whole bunch of different role models. And I believe one of those role models, and one of the reasons why he came to the Lakers, was one Magic Johnson, who, other than, fighting off HIV longer than anybody else on earth, you have a businessman that pretty much has no equal until LeBron. I think LeBron, when it's all said and done, is going to be right up there with Magic and Michael in terms of just like power players in business. But Magic Johnson, if you've been around the West Coast, sometime over the last 25 years, you've probably been to one of his movie theaters. I know he's a minority owner in the Dodgers. At one point, he had his hand in the Lakers itself. You might have sat down at one of his restaurants. He used to own a bunch of Burger Kings and TGI Fridays. Might have worked out at one of his 24-hour fitnesses. But just the Magic Johnson Enterprises, that's like what it's known as, has just done so much and had his hands in so many things that it makes you pause and it's like really appreciate how everybody should strive to just, do more than just dribble, even if you're not a basketball player, but you can be multifaceted as a human. And people like Magic Johnson really showed, the kids that came up after him, how to properly use and how they can properly use their money. Any thoughts on Magic before I push on through?
No, Magic was the first, athlete I remember. Like as a kid, you hear about like those Magic Johnson theaters and stuff like that. Besides Michael Jordan, of course, with the Jordan brand, but Magic Johnson was the first athlete I could tell you as just being younger, being able to say, oh, he had endeavors after basketball. Because clearly I didn't realize it, like that young, I couldn't tell you, oh, I saw him play. I didn't. So everything I knew about him was business first. And then, of course, I knew he was a great basketball player, but the things we saw as we were growing up, like me and Robbie, was like, oh, he's a businessman. So it really speaks volumes that is, he's a legendary basketball player, but then goes into being a powerful, business owner and, using that to do, good for his community.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we, for our age range, Magic is probably the first, right? Where, he's so public with everything that he does that, we got to know that he was doing all these things, where I think potentially like, before him, there were probably other athletes that obviously had success in business and, aren't kind of privy to that just because it's a generational thing. But Magic was for sure like the, I think, he gets a bad rap in today's world because his Twitter hot takes are definitely lacking. Although I love seeing them, but it's almost like the most obvious, if like I could look at Twitter and almost expect Magic to be like, hey, it's blue skies and sunny today. And you'd be like, what? Like, yeah, obviously, but I also think that like, that's just the nature of now. And, anybody that got to see him, towards the end of his career and getting bigger into the business world, obviously he's always been a very like personable and likable guy. So he became the face of a lot of businesses, but then I think he realized really quickly as he, headed into retirement, being the face and owning the business at the same time, like Robbie said, you could literally go into, restaurants that he owned, gyms that he owned, movie theaters that he owned. You could literally experience like all aspects of entertainment after work on a Friday night in something that Magic Johnson owned, which is kind of bananas when you think about it.
And that's Magic. Da-dum-bumps. I really hope that he ended press conference, like not press conferences, but like business pitches with like, and that's Magic. Like, I know he wouldn't, but like that'd be really funny. I'm happy you brought up his social media presence because it's the most cookie cutter like feed that there's ever been. But at the same time, it's always cool because like, a lot of people like don't always love every aspect of their family or basically Magic Johnson's had maybe not always the easiest, adulthood in terms with like, his wife and kids and growing up and making mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you see him and his wife and his family and they all look happy. They're all together. So I think that like the fact that he could balance being an athlete, having so much public spotlight put on him for good, bad, misinterpreted reasons, and still, 20 years later be thriving as a unit with his family. I think that's really cool. Even if it is like boringly bland and like maybe a little like, out of, what's what I'm looking for? It's like out of sync with what's going on, talking about how like nice it is outside when there's a lot of like bad stuff going on outside.
Yeah, exactly.
But just like, Magic, he has his own way of like portraying himself. And it's very different from the next guy I have here, who is another Laker, one Shaquille O'Neal, who is quite a bit more outspoken than Magic. quite a bit. I think the most interesting venture Shaq has is the fact that he's DJ Shaq. Do you guys know about that?
I forget about that one.
He like legitimately like has people coming to his DJ sets and has like a lot of fun. And I was just thinking how much fun I would have off of a fifth of tequila watching Shaq jump around on stage. That'd be pretty fun.
Doesn't he have his own like festival now? I don't know the name of it, but I thought he had something like, simple enough. Shaq Fest. I don't know. I could make that up.
We've put Shaq in front of anything, and it could be it. But it's like Shaq brings the energy. Not like Magic doesn't, but it's Shaq from the time he was, at LSU, always had his own brand of energy and enthusiasm, and he knew very early into his career, hence why he went to the Lakers, that he had aspirations outside the basketball court. So
I should probably confess, like I was one of the people that owned his first 2 or 3 CDs.
They went platinum, which is insane, right? Like he has plaques with this.
Yeah, he had like Def Jeff and Foo Schnickens, like he had like some like decent collabs on decent like, partners on a couple of those tracks. So I think I know like by the time like either the second or third album, like Wu-Tang was on there. So it's not really a surprise when you think about those things, but like it's crazy to think that he was doing this while he was playing basketball too.
Well, did you have not music? Did you have Shaq Fu? The video game?
Oh, hell yeah.
I didn't have Shaq Fu, the video game.
I never owned it.
But I would buy the retro version.
There you go.
I watched Steel probably 100 times on HBO at like 2 PM growing up. So I'm
Kazam, yep.
Yeah.
But this all those different ventures, from being a legitimate rapper to a legitimate, asterisk next to legitimate rapper, a popular musical artist, to being like a viable DJ, to being, I'm sure everybody who's listening probably knows about what happened with John from Papa John's and how he kind of got into a little snafu with got canceled. So right after that, Shaq joined as a board of director for Papa John's, and now you have Shaq being Papa. They need to change it to Big Papas, but he has that. At one point, Shaq owned 155 Five Guys burger restaurants. He owned Auntie Anne's, Krispy Kreme. He has a restaurant in Vegas, which I heard is legitimately good from friends who have been there, called Big Chicken.
Big Chicken?
Big Chicken.
Okay.
And then he has another place called Shaquille's, which is a burger joint in LA. So food, music, dancing, because I don't know, I like to watch Shaq dance. He's funny.
Oh, dude, you got to mention his affordable shoe deal. The ones he had in back in the day were Kmart. They were in Walmart's. I think they still are in Walmart's. And then it was like Payless. Like he wore his shoes. Like he wore those shoes on the court.
He's a man of many skills.
Yeah.
Yep.
But just, I'm really impartial. Just kidding. I love Shaq more than anything on earth. So he's just like a big ball of fun. Like, say what you want about his, work ethic on the court throughout his NBA career. Man just wanted to have a good time, and that's cool. Now, a little toss in, just because I brought up Five Guys, and I remember watching the video of this person talk about it. Gilbert Arenas helped bring Five Guys to the West Coast, which is random, but thank you, because I love Five Guys, so that's cool with me. But Gilbert.
That is such a random one.
Well, it can't be the only one, right? Like we didn't have the fortitude to really go and search every NBA player to have some kind of, endeavor out off the court. But you could even go to like Andre Iguodala, right? You know that he's well versed with technology, and he's a player in that space. So you have people who might not want you to come sit down at a restaurant, but you have people like Andre Iguodala, and to a even further extent, the venture capitalists Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, using their money to kind of diversify and have their hands in a whole bunch of different avenues, from New York to Silicon Valley.
Well, and I think the interesting thing about all of this, right? You mentioned Shaq already knowing like he himself was the brand coming out of school, or even at LSU, right? He already knew he was the brand. So like he had his logo for his shoes already. And I think that mentality is only going to become more and more normalized, because that's the way it should be. Like, if you know you're going to be a professional basketball player, no matter what you do outside of basketball, you know that basketball is going to get you enough eyes and visibility to where you should have your own branding. You should have your own, I'm not suggesting like go and making shoes if you don't care about it, but if that's your thing, then that's your thing, and Shaq kind of was kind of like the poster child for all of those endorsements. And, that quote when he came out where he's like, all I want to do is drink Pepsi, wear Reebok, and play basketball. That's kind of the mentality that I think a lot of, young athletes should look up to and admire, because taking it a step further into the business side of things, right? We all can be passionate about sneakers, but to really understand how the business of sneakers works, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of mistakes and a lot of changes and challenges and all of that stuff. I mean, I personally butt heads with a lot of people because I'm very strong. I have a strong opinion around a lot of sneaker stuff because I'm so passionate about it. And it's not that I'm trying to like say your opinion sucks, but I also, if this, decision that potentially we're debating about is me giving you my opinion because like, hey, I've got, 20 years of obsessing over this or whatever it is, I'm not trying to take your opinion down. I'm just trying to make the best decision for our business or whatever our partnership looks like, whether that's me in a job or like a consulting role. And that's the interesting thing that I think, going back to like the whole of this conversation about athletes being entrepreneurs, you get so much experience in those worlds when you have a Nike deal, right? Like, yeah, some guys might just be dismissive and be like, hey, my agent's going to handle all this. But like, if you're a basketball player specifically, you more than likely are into sneakers to some extent. And the idea that you could potentially have either your own PE, your own signature line, or your own logo with a brand like Nike or Reebok or Adidas or whomever, that's an exciting thing. And you can get into that and learn a ton about what goes on in those situations that you can for sure take and apply to other aspects of business outside of footwear. And I think that's the interesting thing about this, where it's just really ignorant to think that because someone is an athlete, they can't be smart. And it's also ignorant to not realize that like people that become professional athletes get opportunities to learn business at levels that the average consumer or student or person will never be able to learn at, because they have that access. Robbie mentioned before we started recording about, LeBron being on Zoom calls with Nike employees, and those kind of things are powerful ways. We might be able to hit up a friend at Nike or Adidas or Reebok or something and have a conversation. But imagine being LeBron and going, hey, I want to learn about what you do in this business. And literally the entire organization is like, of course, we're going to tell you everything we know about this organization, about this business and our process and how it works, right? And to me, that's like the thing that's missing in this conversation. I don't even think it is a conversation, really. I just can't imagine anyone looking at athletes and not understanding the incredible amount of experience and access that they have to understand business outside of just being an athlete.
There's so many people who don't want to see it. I mean, that's going back to, the opening. We're talking about the people saying, shut up and dribble. These people are in the news. These people do this on a daily basis. They know exactly what these athletes are doing. Like, that's just purely ignorant not to even acknowledge it, because each and every one of them, I mean, I know we were just talking about Shaq, but you look at even a different sport. We'll jump into like tennis. Venus and Serena dominated the field for years. I mean, Serena still does. And, I mean, besides what people know about that, I mean, Venus is a CEO of an interior design company. She has her own sportwear line. Serena is part of 34 startups, and they both own partial share or minority stakes in the Miami Dolphins and UFC, which even though the Dolphins are pretty rough, they're probably one of the most profitable teams, and the UFC continues to grow and just build profit after profit. So the fact that no one asks about it, they like to see the product on TV, and then that's it. They're like, all right, cool. They're good at sport. That's all I need to know.
Well, I mean, some people play even more into them just looking good on TV. Think about Chris Paul, right? Mm-hmm. Chris Paul's on-court persona is 1,000% different than those adorable commercials with him and Little Chris, the State Farm ones. I know Chris Paul is not Nick's favorite person, but Little Chris is the most adorable little guy ever seen. So it's anytime you get a commercial with those two, I think it's magic. But, James Harden, too, he's very much in those same commercials with Chris Paul.
And he used to be. Not anymore.
I mean, maybe not with him, but he's still in commercials. I'm sure. I think he's still doing State Farm commercials. But some people, and I'm sure both those athletes have very smartly invested their money, very wisely, put it in the right place. But if you can make money on the while still playing, and you can be your brand, rolling with that's a viable option too.
Yeah. It's like James Harden now. I don't know what many people know, but he's now a part owner, probably minority owner of the Houston Dynamo, which is our MLS team, and that happened a couple months back.
I think the other thing that's really interesting, talking about shifting sports, right? I'm not condoning any Yankees fans. Sorry, I can't stand the Yankees. I'll never co-sign the Yankees, but if I'm going to co-sign anyone who wore the pinstripes, it would be Derek Jeter. He started the Players Tribune, and I think that's a really fascinating idea too. Sports in itself is such a massive business, right? I mean, granted, right now we don't have sports the way we normally do, but we're talking about just so much money that is out there in the world of sports. And to see Derek Jeter go through, I know he has many other business ventures. He's a part owner of the Miami Marlins, but the Players Tribune was really fascinating to me when they started it, partly because they brought on a bunch of people that I knew from, the media world, because that I was really working in at that time when he retired. But it was also fascinating because it kind of made me realize sports is such a talking head kind of thing, right? Everybody that, we've talked about all the guys the Shannon Sharp debates and Bill Simmons and, Stephen A. Smith and all these people that, do they really have, Shannon Sharp's a bad example because he played, but any of these guys that are, the Skip Baylesses of the world, right? Do they really have a reason to be listened to in terms of how much attention people give them, other than the fact that they're, primarily just super opinionated and outspoken? And I understand that. That's just part of media. But the Players Tribune was created kind of with the opposite of approach, right? It was Derek Jeter basically looking at the way things worked, saying, look, all these media outlets have somebody else speaking on behalf of the players. So why don't we build a media platform and a media company that allows the players to speak for themselves as to this news outlet, And that to me is genius, because it takes away so much of the questioning that happens and the back and forth that happens. And you really get to understand on a very like intimate level what these athletes go through. And I think that is like, just like as an idea, is such a powerful concept, and I know the Players Tribune has, it's remained successful, I would say. I don't think it has quite the same energy that it came out the gates with, but it's still a regular spot for me to go and check to see if there are people there that, athletes there that are, participating or writing or, whatever, that I want to consume those stories. Because I would say that the Players Tribune is like the medium of the sports world, right? It's like the most honest and free flowing of straight from the athlete to, your phone kind of storytelling and information. And that is the most honest, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, especially like you said, the athletes telling their stories and put them on there. I'd rather read that than listen to, Skip Bayless whine and complain about LeBron for no apparent reason. So, I hope that it would pick up steam again at some point, because like I said, I really do enjoy those player-driven stories as opposed to people just who think they know the story and yell about it and give their opinions when they really have no stake in it.
Yeah, I mean, don't we all love those really heartfelt, articles from the Players Tribune? I know I do. But it's just, firsthand reporting and firsthand experiences are always the best. And when you have it coming straight from the athlete's mouth, like, let's use the old trope, for the people, by the people. But, a Players Tribune really, really was or is, for the people, by the people, but players, So that's super dope. I mean, I wish there was just a really pretty database for like, oh, this player's done this, this player's done this. But Jeter is just one of those people where I'm sure he has a lot of things going on behind the scenes and has since like the early 2000s, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Is the most successful, and in a moment here will come even more full circle, the most successful people have a team around them, i.e., like LeBron and Matt Carter type thing. Kevin Durant's business partner, that white guy, I can't think of his name right now, but they're super tight. They're like close. And you need those kind of people around you to tell you that's a bad idea and to tell you, when your ideas are good too. So.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that, is definitely a takeaway from, as we, I think there's a couple more people we should touch on. Obviously, we're not going to hit everybody, that is an athlete that had success in business. But like, just like off the top, right, you're going to think of like football, you've got David Beckham, right? Like you can't really go anywhere in a mall without seeing something David Beckham still to this day,
Yep.
And then he's a team owner. He's got his own, cologne line, all that stuff. Obviously Adidas deals galore. Even guys like Tony Hawk, you don't even think of them as forefront of this conversation, right? But Tony Hawk has to be one of the most successful business people outside of the actual sport that he's involved in, right? Because he literally has, over the years, has had everything in skateboarding to, shoes, to decks, to, wheels, and obviously the video game world, right? Like, to me, it's just like, there's so much money in that. There's obviously way more money in the video game world than there is in actual skateboarding. And he's one of the most successful, if not the most successful skateboarder ever. But still, you're looking at like, you're not just going to be one thing, right? You're going to want to do a bunch of different things, especially if you have, the financial resources to take those risks and start, your own whatever. So, and I think like, kind of just to throw it back to Robbie, obviously one of the most, important and probably successful in business, recently would be Kobe Bryant. I read that. You know what? I'm just going to toss it to you, and I'm going to look up the numbers because Vanessa Bryant got paid so well off of Kobe's body armor deal. So, yeah, I mean,
that's where I was going to start too. I mean, body armor is one of those products where I'm sure a lot of people see it in the grocery store, but maybe they don't take the dive because they want Gatorade still. But body armor is legitimately good.
It's pretty solid.
I quite enjoy it. But, that's one of the bigger things. The next, and I would say probably biggest aspect of Kobe post-basketball would be his, commitment to the next generation of basketball through his Mamba Sports Academy. And I can think of, they're not businesses, so to speak, but how many players either in the game or, in retirement have their hand in either AAU or, think Penny Hardaway, Bobby Hurley, really random people. But, going into coaching is a great segue into the next, stage of your life. Kobe wasn't so much a coach. I mean, he was on the court coaching a lot. So I guess that was the definition of a coach. But, but being like the backbone and not only, the money bags behind the operation, but to have a true investment with not only the girls and, young athletes he'd bring in, but the professional athletes who he'd come in and mentor also. So like the Mamba Sports Academy is just like the most Kobe thing ever. Cause a lot of people go and coach their kids' AAU team, or they open up a basketball program, or, they do something with basketball. Nah, Kobe just opened up a whole academy with a building, 16 courts, I don't know how big it really is, but just took it to the next level and just elevated it the most Kobe Bryant way. So you have stuff like that. And then you have, his Oscar endeavors and his book deals and just, Dear Basketball, the short film or short animated piece he won an Oscar for. I haven't watched it since because I'm going to cry like a baby if I do. But just to have the vision, have the idea, and then enlist the people to help you see it through and succeed is, again, having a group of people around you helping push the right ideas. Kobe was great at that. The books. Nick, didn't you send me this book here? I'm thinking of that I can't think of off the top of my head by name.
Wiznard? Is that what it is?
Wiznard. I want to call it
Wiznard series. Yeah.
I want to call it Wonder Chosen. That's a TV show.
You really nailed it though. It's basically like most parents are like, I'm going to go coach my kid's AAU team. Kobe was basically like, I'm going to be the AAU coach for the entire world of basketball. That kind of desire to make everyone around him better is what is the most admirable about most of what these people that we're talking about do. And going back to the team thing, right? Kobe basically just to go back to, I'm reading here, Kobe invested $5 million to body armor in 2013. And last month, Vanessa Bryant, they announced that she would be receiving $200 million in return from that investment. So, 7 years later, it's paying off. But, even without really knowing, that Kobe had influence on any person that he could that was connected to that, because he's going to want it to be successful. And I think that is surrounding yourself with people that can be pushing you to do better, challenging you to do better. That to me is I think what I see when I look at LeBron and Mav Carter, because inevitably they're always doing something that is, it's almost like outdoing each other individually too, right? They're always, there's just such a competitive nature, but that also brings the most competitive people and the most driven people to be a part of all of their endeavors, which is just an amazing thing to watch. I think this announcement is no surprise, really. There was rumors around this. I think before the coronavirus stuff came in and kind of shut things down. But they basically received like $100 million investment to kind of kick off their own. I mean, I don't even know. It's basically like just an agency, right? So they want to like focus on the Black community. They want to focus on creating authentic stories that, you know, for people that they kind of feel have been kind of ignored or underserved or even, you know, like pandered to, right?
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at it, it's crazy. There's so many things that he's, I guess, a part of that I didn't realize it was. I mean, I knew he had a deal with, say, like Warner Brothers to begin with. I had no idea that the deal was so deep that him and his associates actually have offices on the set to produce their films, which, again, they're trying to tell stories for those people who are underserved and kind of overlooked. So that's one thing I had no clue how much he had at stake there. I thought he was just kind of pushing the production title for, you know, new Space Jam movie, which I was mistaken.
That plays into the fact that he won't just shut up and dribble. LeBron isn't the kind of guy to just show up and put his name on it. Not breathe. What was the name of that Mindful app? Did you see the commercials for LeBron James?
Yeah, I think it was called Breathe. I think. Hold on. You keep going. I'll double check. But I remember those commercials.
Oh, it's called Calm. CALM.
There we go. Okay, close enough. No.
Like, I remember seeing that, and it came out of nowhere. I didn't know what Calm was. Like, just I see LeBron James in a commercial for this app, but I instantly knew it was legit because LeBron James showed up for it. Like, that man is not about putting his name on, you know, a pair of, and you can put anything in this example, but just LeBron James isn't just going to attach his name to anything. So it instantly gives validity to a product and an app that I've never heard of. So it even makes me think about it 6 months later. So that's really powerful, right? Then we have the Beats by Dre deal, which, you know, astronomical. What I think he made $100 million off of that when he bought in. When it got bought out or bought by Apple in 2014.
Yeah. Yep.
He's also gone a little bit of the route of the food. He owns a lot of Blaze pizzas. So you have music, you have technology, you have media, film is a media, but like a media outlet or a base. You have film. And we haven't even brought up Undisputed, which is, you know, gold every time I watch it.
Wait. You mean Uninterrupted?
Yeah. Did I say Undisputed?
Yeah, I was like, he don't own that show, does he? He should go punch Skip Bayless in the face.
All these U words has got me messed up. But, thank you for correcting me. But I mean, everything is just like, I mean, it's a played out term, but black excellence, right? Like elevating people around him. Just LeBron's the man. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, you covered all like the huge things. I mean, he does definitely like his smaller ventures, like the sneaker store in Miami is what called Unknown. I mean, that's small scale compared to what what he's into with like his $1 billion deal with Nike and all the stuff that you mentioned, Robbie. But it just shows that he does things on all levels, because doesn't even his wife own like I don't know if it's more than one now, but like juice shops, like. It's crazy. Like they have their hands in everything from, you know, sneakers to Nike to media. Just shows that he wants to be, again, more than just an athlete, which is one of his mantras, things that he pushes other athletes. You're more than that. Yes, this got you here. Now use it to put you in different doors and different rooms. And I mean, this article that comes out today about SpringHill just literally is the embodiment of that. It's crazy.
Say more about Nike.
About Nike? I mean, shoot, the deal that he cut to, like, what, over a lifetime? They don't give the exact years, but it says it's supposed to be worth over $1 billion when it's all said and done. And then, you know, what Nick mentioned, he's on Zoom calls with Nike employees. I mean, the guy literally does it all and wants to be a part of it. He's not just signing papers and collecting checks.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just everywhere too, right? It's like anything that is close to where he's at, right? I mean, I know, I don't know if you guys mentioned, but like he owns a supplement company called Ladder, which started a couple years back.
Oh, that's his.
Yeah, like Ladder is LeBron and his trainer.
Okay.
And then, just thinking of like we've talked about it on previous episodes, but just thinking about like the school, right? All of the more nonprofit type businesses that he's involved in to just do the right thing, right? And not to be, punny but with it, but like that's really what it is, right? Like he's just doing the things that are right. If you have this kind of success, just keep going and doing and creating, and like whether that's being an entertainer on the court, being an entertainer off the court, helping create entertaining stuff, creating supplements, creating the Nike stuff. All of it is just like, to me, it's just like I have to just step back and just be like, man, it's just, it's rare that I would ever say this, but like if I were to ever have kids, I would want them to look up to LeBron James.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't think that you should have your kids looking up to all athletes, because I think athletes inevitably are held to crazy, unrealistic standards. But somehow LeBron seems to almost across the board live up to whatever expectation you could possibly have for someone, and then take it 10 steps higher.
Yep. No, I mean, that's well said.
Kind of like towards the end of the article, the quote from LeBron says, who calls Muhammad Ali as a role model, basically says, everyone was so fascinated about how great a boxer he was. I think that was the least thing in his mind. Every day he was trying to figure out how to better the world. I think 80%, 90% of the people didn't agree with anything he did back then when he was doing it, but that didn't stop him. He stayed focused on his mission, and that's what we're talking about, the mission. Mic drop.
I mean, yeah, that's it. Drop the mic, walk out.
I'm just like thinking like I need to just put this on the wall so I can be focused, man. Like it's crazy.
Dude, I like it.
Because it is so easy to get distracted.
Yeah, man. And there was one part we completely forgot to talk about. I mean, he has so many things going on. We forgot about his. You actually brought it up when we were talking beforehand, but his equity in English Premier League with Liverpool.
Oh yeah.
Which is again insane. Like you don't have many athletes doing that, and that statement that needs to be hung up on each of our walls. That again, just a testament to what is happening with him.
Yeah, man, it's crazy too, and it's like you just see like Kobe and LeBron and that kind of like changing of the guard, so to speak, but it's so much more than just basketball, right? It's everything. It's just like how to be like an inspiring human being. And yeah, man, it's awesome to see that these guys are, just continuing to run with it.
Yeah, man. Trying to be like LeBron grow up.
They run it. They don't run with it.
Yeah, seriously. Exactly. Yep. All right. Well, if let us know what you think about this whole LeBron. What would you call like LeBron's like business portfolio has to be like up there in terms of like non-athlete business people that have found financial success. He's got to be. I think by the end of his career, by the end of our lifetimes, he will be one of the most successful business people on the planet, regardless of being an athlete or not.
Yeah, I can second that. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
True that.
It's just crazy to think about that, man. But all right, well, let us know what you think. Thanks for rocking with us for another hour. We appreciate all of you supporting. If you got a minute, head over to iTunes, drop us a review. Or head over to patreon.com/sneakerhistory and join us over there. We appreciate you all listening. My name's Nick Engvall. You can find me at Nick Engvall on all platforms, but more importantly, just follow at Sneaker History on all the platforms. And guys, let them know how they can find you.
Yeah, Mike Guillory. You can find me here, Sneaker History, of course. Also Instagram and YouTube, or Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789. Then on YouTube at Mike Guillory. Robbie, where can they find you, sir?
Yeah, you can find me at RAHBEE, the best rhyme around.
Yep.
Right on. Well, appreciate everybody listening, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
See ya.
Bye.
What up, y'all? This is Nick again. First, I wanted to thank you for listening to the Sneaker History Podcast. It really means a lot that you would spend a part of your day rocking with us. Before you take off, I wanted to ask a few favors. If you're looking for more content from the Sneaker History crew, head over to patreon.com/sneakerhistory. Our Patreon members get access to exclusive episodes of the podcast, our latest merch, giveaways, and much more. You can become a member for as little as $5 a month, and it really goes a long way supporting the crew. Next, make sure you're signed up for our email newsletter. We share updates about the footwear business, some of our favorite finds and deals, and other sneaker-related news a couple times per week. I like to think of it as a one-stop shop for the sneaker game, or at least a work-in-progress one-stop shop for the sneaker game, if you know what I mean. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. Whether online or in person, social distancing in effect, of course, it helps make the sneaker community a better place, and you never know what conversation and opportunity might come from it. As always, we appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time. Peace. Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.